Welcome back to another video. I appreciate you stopping by, and I want to talk about something that I've been thinking about for the past couple of days. I want to talk about our youth for a minute. In this video, I want to talk about our youth, and I want to talk about whether or not we are doing enough, or if we're doing anything to prepare our youth for the future, and most importantly, for the future workforce. And I know I've been doing a lot of videos, and you guys probably seen a lot of videos about the current working 9 to 5 and how we all hate it. I've been doing it for a long time, all my adult life, working a 9 to 5, and I've just recently come to hate it. But I think a lot of our younger ones, they're starting off, I don't want to say in the wrong foot, but I think they're starting off because they hear all of us say we hate it, and they're starting off, and they're not particularly fond of it either. And I don't know, are we giving them the wrong impression? Are we giving them a bad impression of the workplace? And the reason I say that is because something happened, kind of, well, not personally to me, but a situation happened where, well, you all know my son is in college, and I did a video and it didn't get a lot of views. So I guess you guys were interested in that. I interviewed him about college and college life and all that kind of thing. It's a real cute little 8-minute video. If you have time, go out there and watch it. But he's in college, and he's home for the summer. And we said, his dad and I were saying, hey, you got to get a job because college is not cheap, y'all. You all know it's not cheap. And so we're like, it'd be nice if you can, get a job this summer. And, like a lot of young folks, he's real picky in what he does, and he just don't want to work any place. So anyway, we kind of nudged him to apply for this particular job. It's nothing fancy or anything, but he did the application. I think it was online, like a lot of applications. Did the application, and he was called in for an interview. And we were trying to prepare him for the interview, and giving him potential questions and things that may come up. And so I'm not exactly sure. My son is not a talker, so I'm not exactly sure what was asked in the interview. We tried to ask him, and he kind of gave us vague answers. But anyway, he did. The feedback was he did well in the interview. The feedback was that he did well, and he came ahead. He came up ahead compared to some of the other kids. Now, and I'm not, it's just not like a bragging on my kid type of video. It's not that at all. But the reason I say that he did well, and I don't want to say I'm shocked, but like I said, my son's not a talker. So I'm like, he did so well. I'm like, so what was the competition like? Because, we were kind of scared because we're like, dang, he don't talk a whole lot. So we were kind of nervous for him, like what's going on? And so it turns out the competition, or the other kids who interviewed, I mean, it was basically no competition at all. Not to say, nobody showed up. Yeah, there was competition, and kids showed up and other kids were interviewed. But the issue was they weren't, I guess, prepared in a sense. They didn't answer the questions. They didn't know why they were there. They didn't know anything about the job that they were applying for. So that kind of blew me away. And I'm like, wow, and that's just some of the basic things that, that you learn or you should be taught when you go into an interview, right? So that's what led me to want to do this video to share, or maybe to, if you guys can drop me some comments, if you can give me some information or some of your experiences, like, are we doing enough to prepare our kids? Because they go to school, and we all know, especially public school. Public school, y'all, I'm sorry, but if any of you are teachers out there, but it's a joke. I mean, they really don't teach, they don't prepare, to me, in my opinion. I'm not a teacher, but you guys chime in, please. But to me, they don't do enough to prepare the kids for real life. I mean, yeah, you can, learn how to do a math equation, and then that is important. Math is important, reading is important. Those skills are important. The other stuff they teach, and science is important. Now, the other stuff they teach, I don't know. But you know, you can learn how to, and I didn't do good in math, so I can't even give an example of how to solve this big math equation. I can't even give you an example because I'm not a math person, but they can give you, you know, they can teach you those skills. And really, if you're not going to be an engineer or if you're not going to build things, I don't see how that's going to prepare you for life, and for your job. And when I guess what I mean is, you know, these kids need to be taught real life skills. Other than that, okay, like they need to be. Well, back in my day, it was you need to learn how to balance a checkbook, but nobody writes checks anymore, right? But they need, you know, basic money management skills. You know, since they're teaching them how to get a job, right? Why not job skills, other than math and science and all that? What I'm saying is job skills, meaning like interviewing, filling out an application, things like that. I don't think that's taught in school. So at home, you know, we have to teach our kids at home, or they learn through experience. And a lot of you may say, well, you know, that's the parents' job. But y'all, you know, especially in our community, like our parents don't have time to be teaching us and showing us that stuff. I know mine didn't. Like I said, I told you all before, I was raised by my grandmother. And she didn't even know. She could barely read and write. So she didn't know how to teach me how to complete a job application, let alone how to do a resume, right? So I think it's important that the kids also are taught that sort of thing in school, because some of us just don't have that at home. So that's one thing. The other point I wanted to bring up was like I said, the interview skills. You know, like a lot of the questions, some of the questions they ask you are basic, but you know, with AI and with our computers and all this that's set up now, you know, we can go on the internet and we can do research like the most commonly asked interview job questions, or what have you. The young kids, I don't know if they have enough initiative to go out there and search that kind of thing. But, you know, we as parents, I guess, you know, we're going to have to pick up that slack, and we have to, you know, kind of go out there and help them along when it comes to that kind of stuff. So that's the whole point I wanted to make here is like, are we doing enough? Do we know what to do? How can we, you know, help our kids, you know, with their future? Because, you know, we all know we get on here and we talk about these 9 to 5 jobs and how much we hate them. But let's face it, you know, most of us are going to have to work one, right? Because, you know, your odds of starting your own business and becoming successful at it, to make a living on it, the odds are pretty stacked against us for most of us. I'm not saying it can't happen. You know, it certainly can, but the odds are not in our favor. So at some point in time in our lives, we're going to have to work a 9 to 5, whether we like it or not. And the whole point of this video is I think that we just need to prepare our youth for, you know, for that fact. They're going to have to work, plain and simple. And they're going to have to, you know, learn these skills to get the job. Like I said, filling out the application, basic skills, interviewing skills. They got to learn how to dress. You know, that's another problem that they're saying the Gen Zers are having in the workplace. You know, the ones who are fortunate enough to find a job, that they don't know how to dress. You know, when they come to work. You know, that's a whole another video. But you know, my job is casual. I mean, like I said, I've been in plenty of jobs, and right now my job is casual. But a lot of jobs out there, especially if you're lucky enough to get in corporate, or you have an office job. I have an office job, but I don't have to dress up anymore, you know, for my job. But a lot of these jobs you do, especially when you're just starting out in your entry level, you got to learn how to dress. Not saying, you know, it has to be Sunday best, but a lot of these kids, you know, they show up at some of these jobs, you know, in sweatshirts and hoodies and, you know, jeans and sneakers. And, you know, we all know that's not appropriate, you know, for the office. But it's just some, you know, little things like that. It's just, you know, like I said, if, you know, unfortunately it falls on us parents. I don't want to say unfortunately, but it does fall upon us parents to teach our kids these things and to show them, you know, what's needed. And it's just a life skill that, you know, they're going to have to learn. And, you know, they don't learn it, unfortunately, not in school. And I think they should, but that's just my opinion. Don't come for me. But I think it's my opinion that the schools should be teaching that along with how to solve this big, elaborate algebra equation or what have you. Because, yeah, you can know how to do the job. You can know how to, and a lot of these kids are very savvy now. Don't get me wrong. They're very smart. They're very intelligent. They're very tech savvy. But a lot of them just don't have the life skills, like, let's say, to land that first job. Because, you know, most of us, you know, we don't have relatives or we don't know anybody who, you know, is a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, right? So, yeah. So we have to, you know, be competitive out there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We got to be competitive out there, and we've got to sharpen those skills. So, you know, it falls upon us, you know, to show them the way. So you guys tell me what you think. Do you think this is an issue, you know, with our youth today? Do you think they're okay? Do you think they're prepared, you know, for the future? Do you think they're prepared for the workforce? So drop me a comment. Let me know what you think. And please like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.